When John asked me to be part of tonight's program, I said, let's do something different. Let's put away the standard repertoire and hear some new music and meet some new people. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Playing here tonight is a little bit like a deja vu for me. When I first came to the United States, I was 13. I played a lot of benefits in hotels where everyone would be eating and drinking. I must admit, those dinners were much more generous and interesting than what I'm seeing here tonight. Obviously, some people don't care what they eat. Good evening, Professor. I actually know this gentleman. He is a very good friend of mine. This is our guest, Professor Peter Schickele, right here. You know, Professor, I'd love to tell you something about him. Professor Schickele teaches at the esteemed University of Southern North Dakota at Hoople. He has discovered many musical gems by the musical anomaly P.D.Q. Bach. Some of Professor Schickele's discoveries include Fanfare for the Common Cold, Schlepptet, and most wonderful one, Hansel and Gretel and Ted and Alice. An opera in one unnatural act. Before we play tonight's discovery, Professor Schickele, why don't you tear yourself away from your meal and tell the audience a little bit more about this work, okay?
Thank you very much. As Mr. Perlman indicated, I do teach at the University of Southern North Dakota at Hoople. It must be said, however, that there are several differences of opinion between myself and the administration of the U of SND at H. The principal one concerns their refusal to make the courses I teach part of the music department. Now, it's not that I have anything against the Department of Pathology. It's just that the music department is so much closer to the cafeteria, which is where the piano is. Now, I know that a lot of my problems with the university stem from the fact that I spend so much time researching and performing the music of P.D.Q. Bach, who was the 21st of Johann Sebastian Bach's 20 children. I've divided the creative life of this profoundly shallow composer into three creative periods. The first was the initial plunge. This was the period he spent in Vienna trying to learn the basic rules of musical composition. Then came the soused or brown bag period, by far the longest period of his life, which he spent in the town of Wein am Rhein, trying to stand up. Then finally the last period, contrition, which was spent in the charming southern German town of Baden-Baden-Baden, trying to work off a monumental hangover which the recent discovery of his skull indicates he may still have. In fact, using the very sophisticated alcohol dating technique, it has been estimated that P.D.Q. Bach's last hangover has a half-life of about 140 years. And the work we're about to hear is called Concertstück for two violins mid-orchestra. This was written during the Soust period when P.D.Q. Bach was at the very depth of his creative powers, and it's in one movement. Now, the thing that intrigued me when I discovered this manuscript, which happened fairly recently, just a couple of years ago, was the almost total absence in the solo violin parts of the note of middle C. Now, middle C, you know, it's the sort of the center of our musical range. It's a very unusual to have a piece that has no middle C's on it. In the solo parts, the only time it happens is at the end when the whole violin section is playing along with them. So I did some research about that, and I found that in the very last years of the 18th century, there was a man named Hans Holtzmann in Wein am Rhein, who was a woodcutter and also a wood carver. And he started carving scrolls. You know, that's the curly part on the end of the violin there. He made these beautiful scrolls. And violinists just fell in love with them. They started having them put on their own violins, you know. But then they found out that middle C just didn't speak. I mean, there was no tone. It was like muffled. And it turns out that it had to do with how it was carved. And so, of course, they got rid of him and stopped using him. And poor Holtzmann is still known as the man responsible for the Dead Sea Scrolls. Glad to see such an appreciation for scholarship, right? I'm looking forward to hearing this work. This is only the second time it's been played in modern times, which probably means it's only the second time it's ever been played, knowing P.D.Q. Bach's reputation. So all I can say is I'm terribly excited. Thank you. Thank you very much.